Greetings from the desk of Dr. B. My name is Barry Carpenter. I am the professor of the Master of Divinity program at Mindanao Grace Seminary. You can find information about this program and our other programs on the website, MindanaoGraceSeminary.com. I also welcome you to interact with us on Facebook. What I wanted to talk to you about today is the methodology of teaching and how our program works. You can see on the website there, it is composed of 24 classes with some practical applications and then a master's thesis. It is a full Master of Divinity program. Our methodology is to level you up. You're moving now from a high school, college level to a graduate level program. In the graduate level program, we want you to engage your brain. I often tell students, especially in our introductions, that there's a difference between education and indoctrination. Indoctrination tells you what you must believe. Education teaches you how to think and find correct answers. So we begin by encouraging students to engage your mind. God gave you a brain, an amazing thing, and He intends us to use it. So when we come to the Master of Divinity program, we want to engage with Scripture. We want to engage with critical thinking. And what that means is that we're thinking. We want you to move from being told what to believe to being able to think for yourself and find answers for yourself. So for example, when I teach eschatology, systematic theology 3, the church and the last things, I will teach all 3 views of eschatology. And then I'll interact with those views and I'll make what I believe to be biblical arguments for the correct view. When I teach the doctrine of salvation, soteriology, I will teach the Pelagian, the Arminian, as well as the Reformed view. And I will argue biblically for what I believe to be the correct view. So if you're not on a level of maturity that you can think critically, or you have to be told what to say and what to think, you're probably not ready for this program. Each class is composed of 30 hours of lecture. I have been criticized in the past because I don't give you my lecture notes. I don't give you my lecture notes because I don't want to insult you. I could just give you a book and tell you to go read a book, and you don't need me to lecture you. What I give is usually a brief outline, a very, very brief syllabus, and I expect you to listen because I want to train you to listen. I want to train you to think while you're listening, and I also want to train you how to take notes. What the master's program does is that very idea. At the end of this program, you'll be able to produce a thesis. You will make a statement, I believe this to be true, and then you will research and make your argument to support that thesis. During the class, there will be Q&A sessions. I'll often tell students to hold your questions, or I'll pause and say, do you have any questions? The purpose of that time is the questions for clarification. That's not a time for me to engage with you as to where Cain got his wife or something like that. So we'll have to stay on track and on topic. I welcome questions. I will not tolerate argument. I'm not here to debate you. If you want to debate, you can contact the board or the MGS and we'll make an arrangement for debate. But the classroom is not a time for it. When you come to a master's level class, we have certain expectations. If you have poor reading skills, if you have poor listening skills, if you have poor English skills, this might be a challenge for you, but it's no problem. We have a bachelor's program that can get you ready for the MDiv. Some people will also ask, well, why don't you teach in the vernacular? Well, let me ask you a question. Which vernacular? You have 8 major language groups, and every tribe has its own variation of those groups. So that's problem 1. Problem 2 is that the majority of theological materials in the world right now is in English. Now, if we go back pre-Reformation, it would have all been in Latin, and there would have been a time that it would have been in German. And I hope someday it's in the Asian languages. But so we have to interact with English languages. There will be reading assignments. Those reading assignments are usually in the form of a PDF so that you don't have to buy books. We try to make it as easy for you as possible. Let me also talk about your shame. There's no room for that in my class. I'm not here to judge your grammar. Can I just be transparent? I don't speak English. I speak American. The goal is not for you and I to impress each other with how well we speak. My Cebuano is very pitiful, and I'm often corrected in my Cebuano. We just need to be able to communicate on a level that we can understand each other. So those first exams that you take, I'm not going to be judging your grammar. As we move on later to the year, I might make corrections. And the purpose of those corrections is because I want you someday to write commentaries. I want you someday to write books. I want you someday to write articles, but the main thing is the content. So if you're on a level where you can just put aside your pride and try to communicate on a level we can understand each other, everything will be fine. A word of discouragement. There are some people that this program is just not for you. That's not personal. It's somewhat like joining the military. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. This is just an opportunity to level up. The expectations are much higher because this is a high degree. The MDiv is the crowning jewel of the pastor scholar. I have a doctorate in theology, but the doctorate program, you don't learn new materials, you just learn new skills. So I somewhat take the approach that the reformers take, that the doctors were the pastor teachers of pastors, and they were also churchmen as well. So we're all called to be pastors, but we're not all called to be trainers of pastors. So the MDiv is the highest degree really for a pastor, and that moves you to being that pastor scholar. That's what we're looking for. My personal goal is that you will not be intimidated, so that when the heresies wash up on the shore of the Philippines or wherever you're ministering, you have the skills to open your text and defend the truth. Now, a word of encouragement. We've labored for 8 years to refine this program, and the program is under constant refinement. It is semper reformanda. We are refined and always refining the program. A lot of people will ask me, well, what textbook do you use? And the answer is Legion. So in Systematic Theology 1, I'll view maybe 7 or 8 textbooks. I'll take the most relevant from those textbooks and I'll put them into that class. I'll also listen to lectures and I'll also look at articles. And what I'm trying to do is not create something new, but to try to find the best of the best that communicates the ideas together. So there's not going to be one set textbook. My teaching methodology. I do what I want. I view teaching a lot like preaching. I'm not here to impress you. I don't care if you're impressed with me or not. So if you're looking for a very polished class, a very formal class, this is not for you. Piper is correct. We are not professionals. I don't want to be an administrator. I want to be a prophet. Okay? So in my classes, I preach. I laugh. I want you to laugh with me. I cry. I express myself openly because I believe that that's what Jesus, John the Baptist, and Paul did. And so that may be offensive to you. If you need a more formal setting, if you need a more rigid setting, then I welcome you not to take my class. So even in my teaching, it's very much like my preaching. I might lapse into preaching, and I can't separate the two because I was a preacher first. And I seek also to be led by the Spirit to express things in an authentic way. If that's a stumbling block for you, then I discourage you from taking my class.